Our biggest challenge to date, a no-holds-barred elimination match.
Professional wrestling thrives on rivalry, spectacle, and the constant tug of loyalty against ambition. But every so often, a moment happens that transcends company lines and scripted storylines. The wrestling world recently witnessed one of those rare moments when AEW star Jon Moxley surprised fans and insiders alike by visiting Roman Reigns in the hospital following a brutal attack that left the WWE champion seriously injured. This act of solidarity shook the industry not only because Moxley is a key figure in WWE's rival promotion, but also because of his shared history with Roman Reigns as one of the legendary Shield brothers. It reminded fans and fellow wrestlers that some bonds are stronger than contracts, brands, or rivalries. The visit wasn't about publicity, spectacle, or reigniting old angles. It was about brotherhood, respect, and a reminder that genuine human connection still exists in a business often dominated by competition. Brotherhood beyond the ring. To understand why Moxley's hospital visit resonated so deeply, one has to revisit the history of the Shield, the iconic WWE faction that once dominated the wrestling landscape and changed the way fans viewed unity and storytelling in modern wrestling. Consisting of Dean Ambrose, now Jon Moxley, Seth Rollins, and Roman Reigns, the Shield was more than just a team. It was a brotherhood forged in fire and tested under the brightest lights of WWE programming. Together, they tore through the roster with an intensity that made them look untouchable, capturing championships, headlining pay-per-views, and redefining what a faction could mean at a time when WWE needed a fresh injection of energy. Their chemistry was obvious to everyone watching. It wasn't just a product of clever booking or a well-timed push from management. It came from a real bond among the three men who traveled together on long roads, shared hotel rooms, trained side by side, and leaned on one another during the ups and downs of a grueling wrestling schedule. That genuine bond bled through the screen and into the hearts of fans, making their story feel authentic and relatable. Even when betrayals split the faction apart, even when individual ambitions pulled them in different directions, fans could sense that the respect, admiration, and affection beneath it all remained. When Moxley left WWE, many assumed those ties were finally broken forever, as he reinvented himself in AEW with a rawer and more dangerous persona. But his hospital visit proved otherwise. It proved that no matter how far apart careers and companies may drift, some friendships are stitched so deeply into the soul that they can't unravel, even under the fiercest corporate rivalries. The Shield legacy still burns. The Shield left a legacy that has outlived its official run, standing as a landmark chapter in modern wrestling history. Each member went on to become a headliner in their own right, achieving accolades and charting different creative paths, yet fans never stopped linking them together as if they were still brothers in arms. Roman Reigns, once the powerhouse of the group, evolved into WWE's undisputed face as the tribal chief, building the bloodline storyline into the company's most dominant and emotionally layered narrative in years. Seth Rollins reinvented himself into the Visionary, a flamboyant yet cunning strategist whose mix of charisma, arrogance, and unpredictability has made him one of WWE's most fascinating modern performers. Meanwhile, Jon Moxley broke free of the WWE machine, stepping into AEW as a rugged, no-nonsense brawler whose authenticity and grit made him the heartbeat of the company. Their careers diverged, but the thread of the Shield always lingered in the background, a constant reminder that greatness forged together is never forgotten. Fans still chant Shield when any combination of them interact, proving how powerful the bond remains in wrestling's collective memory. That's why Moxley's gesture of visiting Roman Reigns at his most vulnerable moment didn't just shock fans. It sent shockwaves through the entire community. It was a reminder that their shared history isn't just about titles or storylines. It's about the humanity behind the characters and the brotherhood that continues to burn brightly even across different companies and rivalries. the attack that shook the wrestling world. The backdrop to this emotional reunion was a shocking incident that blurred the lines between scripted drama and genuine concern, leaving fans reeling. During a WWE live event in Paris, Roman Reigns, long portrayed as nearly untouchable, suffered a vicious spear from Braun Breaker, the powerful second-generation star whose rise has been marked by sheer intensity and a ferocious will to dominate. The impact of the move was so brutal that it left Reigns visibly shaken, clutching his ribs as he lay sprawled on the mat, forcing medical personnel to rush him from the arena and ultimately to a hospital. The scene sent shivers through the crowd, which had never seen Reigns so vulnerable and exposed. Fans who had grown accustomed to seeing him as the invincible tribal chief, the man who never flinched and always commanded control, were stunned by the sight of him fragile and in need of help. The spear wasn't just another wrestling move. It became a symbolic strike against WWE's most dominant figure, one that cracked his aura of invincibility and forced everyone to confront the possibility that even the strongest can fall. Suddenly, the story wasn't about his championships or his faction. It was about his resilience, his humanity, and the unexpected turns life can take inside and outside the ring. Moxley's quiet gesture, loud message. Jon Moxley's hospital visit carried with it a gravity that went beyond any promo or storyline. Unlike the chaotic character fans see in the ring, a wild-eyed brawler who thrives on unpredictability, Moxley arrived in understated fashion. Dressed in simple street clothes, avoiding the attention of cameras, his demeanor was calm and deliberate. This wasn't about creating buzz or grabbing headlines. This was about respect, loyalty, and showing up for someone who mattered. Witnesses described the atmosphere as heavy with emotion, but grounded in sincerity, as the two men shared nearly an hour of quiet conversation, away from the spotlight. They spoke about their shared history, the battles that once united them, and the uncertain road that lay ahead for Roman as he recovered. When Moxley finally emerged, he didn't offer a long speech or a staged reaction. He gave the world a sentence that summed up everything. Some bonds transcend brands. In those 5 words, Moxley cut through the corporate noise and reminded fans of the authenticity that underpins wrestling at its best. Wrestling is often accused of prioritizing spectacle and profit over people, but this gesture stood as proof that true human connection can still shine through. Seth Rollins, the chilling counterpoint. Just as fans were processing the tenderness of Moxley's loyalty, Seth Rollins stepped forward with a starkly different message that shifted the tone from solidarity to dread. Known for his brilliance, ambition, and, at times, ruthless cunning, Rollins addressed the press with a chilling grin that hinted at something darker brewing. Everyone's so concerned about Roman. They should be concerned about what's coming next. We're just getting started, he declared. His words weren't just a warning. They were a declaration of intent, one that immediately raised the stakes of the unfolding saga. Rollins, aligned with formidable allies like Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, and reportedly guided by the strategic mind of Paul Heyman, now positioned himself as the architect of chaos in WWE's current landscape. The implication was clear. Roman's injury wasn't an isolated incident, but merely the opening act of a much larger, more sinister plan. The juxtaposition of Moxley's quiet loyalty and Rollins' calculated menace painted a complex picture of what lies ahead, one marked by emotional tension, fractured brotherhood, and the looming threat of all-out war inside WWE. The business of loyalty and rivalry. Beyond the emotional resonance of this moment lies a fascinating business angle with potential long-term implications. WWE and AEW have always operated as rival empires, rarely crossing paths outside of sly references or indirect shots. Their rosters, creative visions, and fan bases exist in separate orbits, with both companies fiercely protecting their brands. That's why Moxley's decision to cross company lines, even on a personal level, feels monumental. It challenges the unwritten rules of company loyalty and forces both promotions to reckon with the idea that human connection might sometimes supersede corporate branding. Could this moment open the door to future collaborations or at least occasional respectful nods between the two companies? Will other wrestlers feel inspired to follow suit when their personal loyalties outweigh professional divides? For WWE, Moxley's presence complicates their boundaries, but also highlights the universal appeal of authenticity. For AEW, it strengthens Moxley's reputation as a man of principle, but risks muddying the waters of his current storylines. The blurred lines between competition and cooperation have rarely felt so prominent, and the wrestling industry now finds itself in a position where fans may expect more crossover moments that once seemed impossible. Fans' emotional investment. What makes this saga particularly powerful is the way it taps into the emotions of wrestling fans, who are uniquely devoted because of the industry's delicate blend of fiction and reality. For years, fans have invested not just in matches, but in the journeys, friendships, and betrayals that happen both on-screen and off. The Shield's story is etched into that collective memory. It is part of a shared experience that shaped an entire generation of wrestling enthusiasts. So when Moxley showed up at Roman's hospital bedside, it wasn't just a personal act. It was a moment that hit the fans directly in the heart. It felt authentic, unscripted, and deeply human, resonating in a way no planned storyline could. Social media lit up instantly, with hashtags about the Shield surging worldwide, theories flooding fan forums, and heartfelt tributes pouring in across platforms. Fans debated what it could mean for the future, speculated on dream scenarios, and celebrated the authenticity of seeing loyalty triumph, even temporarily, over rivalry. For many, this wasn't about spectacle at all. It was about being reminded that the performers they've cheered and booed for years are also people with real bonds that endure beyond the spotlight. Loyalty versus ambition. The heart of this saga lies in the duality between loyalty and ambition, perfectly embodied by Moxley and Rollins. On one side, Moxley represents the enduring strength of brotherhood, showing up when it matters most, even if it means crossing boundaries and risking criticism. On the other, Rollins represents ambition, ruthlessness, and the willingness to burn bridges in pursuit of dominance. Roman Reigns, meanwhile, stands in the middle as both the tribal chief and a man suddenly vulnerable, forced to navigate the fractures between his brothers. This dynamic encapsulates everything fans love about wrestling storytelling. It isn't just about moves and titles, but about relationships, choices, and consequences. The tenderness of Moxley's loyalty, contrasted with the menace of Rollins' warning, creates a narrative tension that fans can't look away from. It's about light and darkness, trust and betrayal, resilience and destruction. Wrestling at its best has always thrived on these universal themes, and that's why fans remain glued to every update and development. A moment that will echo in wrestling history. Jon Moxley's hospital visit may go down as one of the most memorable unscripted moments in modern wrestling, precisely because it blurred the lines between rivalry and brotherhood in a way that felt raw and real. It challenged the rigid boundaries of company loyalty, reignited conversations about authenticity, and reminded fans of the human beings beneath the personas. Seth Rollins' chilling response ensured that the story remains unresolved, promising further twists, betrayals, and high stakes in the months to come. As WWE and AEW continue to define their respective legacies, this moment proves that professional wrestling is most powerful when it blends spectacle with sincerity. Fans will remember it not just as a surprising crossover, but as a story that resonated on a deeply human level. It will stand as proof that wrestling, for all its theatrics, is at its core about people, about bonds that endure, rivalries that cut deep, and stories that evolve as long as the performers live them. For now, The wrestling world watches with anticipation, knowing this is only the beginning of a saga that has the potential to shape the next chapter of wrestling history.